Time management is a very important strategy for the Ready Writing Contest. The real enemy of this contest is not the prompt itself. The real enemy is the 2 hours and managing it well. What usually goes wrong in a timed writing? Running out of time, having a weak conclusion, rushed revisions. This is not just a writing contest, this is also a time management contest. Strong writers don't just write well, they manage their time wisely. Winning essays are written on a schedule. There is a plan to them. You don't want to just sit down and rush through. You need to be sure you are organized, you know where you're going, and you know how to end it. The first 10 to 15 minutes, you really do need to plan. Choose which prompt you want to use, and then kind of brainstorm ideas of examples and evidence you can use to support the one you're choosing. What are the springboard ideas that you're going to head towards? What is the insight that you might offer? So just kind of brainstorm, start writing down some things, take some notes on that prompt sheet. Read the quotes twice. Try to choose the one that you think fewer people will choose. Don't write the one that's obvious, the easier one. We don't want that low-hanging fruit. You want to choose the one that's going to require greater insight. And after you've chosen, underline some key words in that prompt. Circle the ideas that stand out to you. And what do those words and ideas make you think of? That's the springboard. You can look for the central tension in the quote, or what assumptions are embedded inside of it. What do you see that you can expose inside that prompt? The next part of your plan is to develop a working thesis. It's a rough draft thesis. These are the points that you're going to make in writing your essay. And then kind of jot down the evidence and the examples you can use in support of that. A strong plan will save you time of confusion at the end. Most students skip the planning because they feel the urgency to get started because it is a timed contest. But that urgency will cost you clarity. Next comes the writing block, and you're going to have 80 to 90 minutes of writing. You're going to give yourself a little bit on the introduction, and if you can't come up with a good hook right then, don't worry about it. Just start with your thesis. And then give yourself about 20 minutes for each of your body paragraphs and about 10 minutes for your conclusion. As you write your body paragraphs, offering the thesis point for each body, the evidence and example, and the insight, you're going to come up with an interesting hook that will get you started. And you can go back to that introduction. And then give yourself about 10 minutes for the conclusion as well. You want to be sure that whatever you start in the introduction, whatever hook or whatever interesting idea you begin with, you want that to kind of weave through the body of your paper and definitely make sure it's included in the conclusion. Separating each of those paragraphs into a certain amount of time, 10 for the introduction and conclusion and 20 for each of your paragraphs, it makes sure that the focus is on the body paragraphs, that you don't take too much time on that introduction. It is also going to prevent a rushed ending. There are times we have essays and the conclusion is one sentence, so we know they didn't have time, and you're failing to really summarize, really drive home your point, answering that so what question, why it's a big deal. You want to be sure that you have balanced time on your paragraphs because they're the majority, but give yourself at least 10 minutes for the introduction and another 10 for the conclusion. Next is the revision window. Give yourself 15 minutes of revision. This is where most people skip, and this is a lot of times what costs students. They could have solid ideas, strong insight, with interesting examples and evidence to support, but there are so many mistakes throughout, it creates a problem with the readability of their essay. If you give yourself 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the contest, print out your essay that you have, and then actually use a pen and go through making some revisions and edits. Having the essay in your hands, it reads differently than when you're just looking at it on a computer screen. You want to be sure you have thesis clarity, that a reader is going to notice your thesis and they're going to understand what the body paragraphs are going to be about. Read the topic sentences of each of your paragraphs. And do body paragraphs 2 and 3 have a transition connecting the beginning point to the next one? You want to be sure they all tie to each other and they build on top of each other. Revision is not rewriting. It is simply improving upon what you have, choosing elevated diction, making sure your punctuation is like you want it to be, and making sure you have the word you meant, not just the word that you typed at the moment. The final 10 minutes is just the polish. You're just looking at each of your verbs. Are they vivid verbs instead of just being the state of being verbs? Are they specific? Do they paint a picture in the reader's mind? And is it the picture you want it to be? And read the very last sentence of your paper. This is not persuasive. We are not telling the audience to do anything. We're not trying to convince them to do anything, but we are going to make a bold, powerful statement which will lead them nodding their head. That's good stuff. We don't care if they believe it or not. It doesn't matter if they're in agreement. We just want them to feel the power behind the words we write. There are 3 time traps to managing your time, and the first one is the perfect introduction. You don't have to write it perfectly the first time. You really just need to be sure you have your thesis statement. You can go back and add into that intro later. So don't give yourself too much time for that intro at the cost of the rest of your paper. The second one is the example spiral. It's where you give an example and then you summarize it and you summarize it and you continue telling us because you feel like the judge needs all that background information. And then you lose your analysis time. You lose your insight. Remember, the example is just the setup. It's just the investment. It's the insight that's the payoff. The third one is the panic. It's when doubt starts to creep in and you think perhaps this isn't good and you want to just restart and delete that paragraph and do something else. But you're really out of time. You don't need to worry about restarting because you can go back and revise it at the end as you've managed your time. You want to revise forward. Momentum is going to help you create analysis. It's going to help you push forward. A lot of times students struggle with working under pressure. It's anxiety ridden. It makes us nervous. I don't know if I can do it. If you'll give yourself little miniature checkpoints, just remind yourself, okay, in 5 minutes I want to have this done. In the next 5 minutes I want to have this. Give yourself just little checkpoints, and as you complete them, give a check, just a little reward. Instead of thinking about a whole 2 hours and a full essay, all we have to do is this part right here. The next thing is adding in some productive self-talk. Instead of thinking to yourself that everyone is better than me, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not smart enough, you replace that with, I am an original and I have unique ideas. I can stick with this plan. I do have some creativity and I can focus all the way to the end. You also need to be aware of just energy levels. At about 60-75 minutes, your energy is going to dip. So take a moment, kind of stretch, rearrange. Just a little bit of movement will make all the difference in your clarity. You need to remember, you do not need the longest essay. You do not need the cleverest essay. What you need is a clear thesis, balanced development, and controlled mechanics. That's it. You don't have to have the perfect essay. 2 hours is enough time if you will plan strategically, write efficiently, revise well, and finish strong. Talent matters, but controlled composure will win. You like what I did there?
Sounded familiar.
Yeah. All right.